denied thousands of children access to education, further widening social and economic disparities. This is on page 16 of the Standard. 79% of African Union countries are planning to decrease total government spending as a percentage of GDP between 2023 and 2025, I should say, and 44%. This is 15 African Union countries are already spending more on debt servicing than they are on education. And this number is probably greater as full data is now available for 18 countries. 44% of countries are spending more revenue on debt servicing than on education. That is the story that you want to follow there. Also, 73% of the 52 African Union countries studied, the IMF identifies that 73% are in debt distress or at a significant risk of debt distress. You have 72 of the African Union countries are spending under the global average percentage, that is 9% of the GDP, on public sector wage bill. That is the story that you have inside today's Standard. On the sidebar, you have the Pull-Out magazine, that is health and science that comes in handy for you inside the Daily. The Standard, 1 month to live, why newborns are dying every day, and Joho's 2027 stab rattles ODM diehards. Former Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho's presidential ambition has stirred ODM, with leaders staking out who will inherit Raila's post as the party primaries beckon. You have a story on page 8 of the Standard this morning. And landed woman goes to jail over Nairobi FGM. Read all about it on page 3. And Trump hit where it hurts the most. That is on page 21 of the Standard. Banks to pay more for licenses, and women coaches who will not let go of the ball. You can follow the story on page 30 and 31 of the Standard this morning. This is how it looks. Let's see what the Daily Nation is holding for us. Daily Nation, why the mountain is restless. Facing Mount Kenya, that is what the flag reads on top there. And it says, it's the region that installed Kenya Kwanza in power in 2022 presidential election. But there is content brewing in the vote-rich zone more than a year after the polls has the top brass of the ruling party pitching camp there to turn the tide. Just what is happening there? That is a probing question. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. Just what is happening there? DP Gachagua forced to reprimand hecklers during the presidential tour of the region. Uhuru Kenyatta placed in legacy on the line in unsuccessful succession plan, and President Ruto working to consolidate support in region key to his re-election bid. That is the story. Also, Kalonzo, we will soldier on without Raila. Former Vice President says AU top job bid for Raila Odinga will not derail the opposition coalition from the goal to check government and offer alternative leadership. That is the story that you want to follow on page 5 of the Daily Nation today. Community health workers get 3 billion shillings. Thousands of community health promoters have received their stipend after the government released 3 billion shillings to cater for their monthly pay. That story on page 2. And back side of Kenya Power, persistent nationwide blackouts have caused huge losses for households and industries. It's the state monopoly tasked to light up the country, keep industries running, and critical service like hospitals sustaining lives. But the operations of one of the key national installations have kicked up a national furor over inordinate delays in new connections, repair of broken down transformers, and questionable billing systems. You have a story on page 6 and 7 of today's Daily Nation. And looking on the teaser on top here, Cabinet Secretary's moment of truth. Ministers and House leaders gather today in Naivasha for a summit to take stock of the government performance that observers say could trigger the fast shake-up of Kenya Kwanza administration. You have a story on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Also, inside 4 trillion shillings budget to pay debt, foster growth. The government has unveiled 2024-2025 financial year spending plan that coincides with mega loan maturities that have forced imposition of harsh taxation measures. You have a story on page 10 of the Daily Nation this morning. This is how it looks. Make sure you grab a copy if it floats your boat. Also, Ruto team gives audit board central role in graft war. That is what is headlining the front page of the Star. New law, Auditor General to report directly to investigative agencies. Nancy Gathungu could recommend debarment of unscrupulous entities. You have a story on page 6 of The Star. Ruto team gives audit board central role in graft war, and AU honors Mwalimu Nyerere with statue at its offices. And you can see a picture here related to that. President William Ruto of Kenya, Samia Suluhu of Tanzania, and Hakainde Hichilema of Zambia arriving for the unveiling of a statue in honor of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere at the Julius Nyerere Peace and Security Building, African Union Commission in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia yesterday. That story also you find it inside The Star today. On the sidebar, Koskei orders crackdown on illegal sirens. Head of Public Service, Felix Koskei, has ordered an immediate crackdown on all vehicles that are illegally fitted with sirens and strobe lights, saying the state was concerned as many government and privately owned vehicles were causing security risks and creating safety concerns to road users. That story is on page 20. And MPs link Baringo attacks to quest for own county. The banditry attacks in Baringo have now metamorphosed into displacement of population with the aim of acquiring more land to create a new county. Lawmakers from the region claim. The MPs say the violence has gone far beyond cattle theft and have asked for investigations. You have a story on page 8 of The Star this morning. Vital drug offers relief for mums during birth. Mothers will, from next month, have access to new drug that prevents excessive bleeding after childbirth following the government's procurement of 660,000 doses of heat-stable carbetocin, a new formulation. That is carbetocin, a new formulation vital in reducing maternity mortality. You have a story on page 2 of The Star today. Why Raila's AU job has united Kenya's top politicians. That story on page 4 and 5 of The Star. Also, The People Daily. Raila fight for AU job rattles allies. This is what is a splash today. ODM calls for crucial meeting to discuss party's future if opposition chief clinches seat, as Kalonzo assures that as a new coalition will be in safe hands. That story on page 4 of The People Daily this morning. And also State releases 3 billion shillings for health promoters is on page 13. I gave you the details much earlier. And on top, Ruto's headache in Naivasha key talks. After suffering a string of self-inflicted setbacks in court on legacy plans and rising despair by co-supporters, wounded president retreats to take stock. You have a story on page 6 of The People Daily. On the side, but there, auditor sheds light on passport delays. That is the story on page 2 of The People Daily this morning. Taifa Leo, tuko sawa bila Raila. This is what Kalonzo says, tuko sawa. Musyoka asema yuko tayari kuendeleza kazi ya Odinga akiteuliwa na AU. That is the story you want to follow on page 2. And also fanya biashara wadai serikali bilioni 700. Baadhi ya madeni yamekaa kwa karibu miaka 20 bila kulipwa, huku wasambazaji bidhaa na huduma wakiumia. You have a story on page 3 of Taifa Leo, and you can read the rest of the details inside Taifa Leo as well. Let's buckle down to some business, and we pick up the Business Daily, where KRA pounces on high-end barbershops, beauty parlours. This is KRA. Tax officers hounding barbers, hairstylists, drivers. KRA takes fight against tax cheats to informal sector. The Kenya Revenue Authority is hunting down barbers, high-end beauty parlours and taxi drivers as it eyes a share of the billions of shillings changing hands in the informal sector, which has for long eluded taxman's dragnet. A number of attendants in the high-end barbershops and beauty parlours in Nairobi told the Business Daily that they have started paying the 16% value-added tax on their sales, while the employers have been cornered by tax officials to deduct and withhold 5% of the commissions and remit to the KRA. They will then be required to file the rest of KRA at the end of the year. You have a story on page 2 of the Business Daily this morning. And remember, the KRA kanjos, so to speak, also they're on the pounds. This is their work, and they're opting in, moving to the informal sectors. We had the government hiring 1,200 of them or more And this is what now they're doing. Kenya moves to regulate Bitcoin trade on grey listing risk. Kenya moves to regulate Bitcoin trade on grey listing risk. Kenya is working on new regulations to police trading in cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin on growing fears that the increased transactions in virtual assets in the country could increase risk of money laundering and terrorism financing. You have a story on page 2 of the Business Daily. Also on the ticker, Treasury proposes 78 billion shillings budget cuts. The National Treasury has proposed 78.6 billion shillings in budget cuts for the fiscal year ending on June 30th as part of the Exchequer's effort to rationalize spending. And Kenya, Tanzania trade spat cut maize rise imports by 10 billion shillings. Kenya's imports from Tanzania fell by 10.23 billion shillings last year on the back of renewed trade barriers, which largely hit the flow of grains from the agriculturally endowed country. Official trade numbers shows this. Also, insurance firms sales raise premiums on new VAT charges. Insurance firms raise premiums on new VAT charges. Insurance firms have started repricing the premiums charged on customers as they complied with new 16% value-added tax introduced to the Finance Act 2023. So insurance also is bound to go up in light of that compliance. You have a story in the Business Daily today. We cross over to Uganda, where 900 schools in city illegal. This is what KCCA is saying. In poor state, the Deputy Director of Education at Kampala Capital City Authority says at least 928 of 1,986 learning institutions in the capital are not registered because they do not meet the set standards. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda. And Aga Khan University graduates hundreds in historic year. This is happening or happened in Uganda. The head of the European Union to Uganda, Jean Sadek, Aga Khan Development Network Diplomatic Representative Ambassador Amin Moji, and AKU Institute for Education and Development Associate Dean also, and the rest are here. You can follow the story inside the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Uganda. Still we cross over in East Africa. We go to Tanzania, where TZ in the mix as US-China trade battles shift to Africa. As two of the world's superpowers increase their focus on Africa, countries like Tanzania, which acts as crucial gateways for many of the neighbors, are positioned to benefit significantly. And you can follow this story inside the Citizen. It has been that particular decision on whether to face the East or the West. And also, Tanzania is caught up in this particular mix right now. What will be the ultimate decision on that? Or will you get a hybrid of both? That is the story you can follow inside the Citizen. GM potatoes to address honey crisis. This is according to scientists. Honey production decreased due to pesticides applied in treating the let blight disease. That is on page 3 of the New Times this morning. Also, Tour du Rwanda 2024 gets underway. And you can see here, Belgian rider Jonathan Vaven receiving a yellow jersey from Minister of Sports Aurore Mimosa Munyangaju and Rwanda Development Board Chief Tourism Officer. This is Michaela Rugizangoga after powering his team. That is Sudal quick step to victory of team time trial, that is TTT or Triple T, for the first stage of Tour du Rwanda 2024 on Sunday, February the 18th. That's all is tucked away inside the sports pages of the New Times as well. East Africa this week, Congo is burning. That is a probing, or that is a splash. Congo is burning. Kinshasa, Rwanda and Burundi leaders have traded blame on who is funding the new violence in the rest of the eastern region, but in the jungles are also foreigners exporting blood minerals. You can follow the story on page 4 and 5, telling picture here on how also the citizens are suffering in Congo. This is the internally displaced people seeking refuge. You can read all about it on page 4 and 5 of the East African AU's 2023 scorecard. The continental body takes up new assignments as the forgotten issues rear their ugly head again. You can follow the story on page 10. And NTBS cost EAC dearly. Imports, quotas, subsidies, custom delays, technical barriers impede trading, leading to low intra-EAC trade. That story on page 6 and 7 of 6 and 27 of the East African this morning. Also, you can get to look on the side where there how Kenya shilling rallied against dollar. CBK intervention, inflows from bond buyers acted on this. You can follow the story on page 6 of the East African. Allow me to just show you also some of the international publications there. Newsweek, their latest breaking point. This is all about the president of Korea there. As you can see him, is Kim Jong-un's regime beginning to crack? That is a probing question. Right? Is Kim Jong-un's regime beginning to crack? That is a probing question. You can read the rest of the details inside the latest publication of the Newsweek. New hope for America's missing also is inside the Newsweek as well. And The Economist looks like this. The right goes gaga. Meet the global anti-global alliance. The right goes gaga. Meet the global anti-globalist alliance. That, I think, is what the gaga stands for. Make America Hungary, Italy, France, Israel, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, great again. That is what is on the front page of the latest copy or publication of The Economist. Goodbye to the racial jobs gap. San Francisco's comeback, China's chip-making plan, the looming hell in Rafah. All that is inside the latest copy, excuse me, of The Economist. And lastly, we can look at the Time magazine, the fast artificial war. Palantir and other tech giants are building the future of battle in Ukraine, and that will be artificial intelligence driven. That is what the Time magazine seems to be portraying here, the fast AI war. Palantir and other tech giants are building the future of battle in Ukraine. Is this technology going to be for the good of humanity, or also we're going to see the flip side of it, which is going to exacerbate wars and tensions around the world? That is the latest copy of the Time magazine. You can grab a copy for yourself. We go back to, of course, the leading publication today. This is the Standard. Cheers to Gia Ruto, no longer darling of many. And we shall be looking at that with our panelists this morning. I'm joined this morning by Dr. Makale Muli, who is Member of Parliament for Kitui Central. Also, we're joined by Dr. James Chikal. James Chikal is a Member of Parliament for Seme. Let's hear from Waziri kutoka Kitui. How is it going?
Good morning,
You both come with some honey and some maembe from Kitui Central.
And good morning, viewers. By the way, there is a lot of maembe and a lot of honey from Kitui. So I wish you could visit. With this time with a pickup, not a...
With a pickup?
Not with a salute. So that you carry in the bag.
There's a bounty there.
You carry as many as possible. Otherwise, it's a good morning in Dibao.
Yes.
We are happy to be here once more this week. The week that was not very good for me, as I indicated. I ended the week with a number of barriers for very close family members and also close political colleagues. So, but now we have this new week, we come up with some good things. Now that we see Kenya Kwanza is in Naivasha, Baba is planning to join the AU. So very exciting things coming up, and we want to see how they unfold as we move to the next week. But all said done, we're happy that mostly now we are almost clearing our harvesting in Kitui Central. A lot of people have taken their maize out of the farms now. They actually now putting the maize into the bags for storage. At the same time, it's now starting to get a bit hot in preparation for the April rains. So generally things are okay. and we look forward to a better week at the bar.
Right, and I like the cut of your suit. When I see you like this, I know Parliament is in session.
Yeah.
You see. Yeah, so I know when you see Makale Mulu is in suits, there's serious business either in the committee.
You know, there's some work.
Yeah. So
be
after the
that.
show, he's headed there for some serious meeting.
Yeah, you have some committee
Dr.
meetings.
James Chika, good to see you.
Morning,
Yeah, good
Diva.
morning. How is Seme?
Seme is fine. I wasn't there this weekend,
Yes.
but I was there last weekend. We had a few activities going on, just clearing school fees for children, which is still a problem. The harvesting is over, but it is getting drier now, and it's a bit confusing. You know, the rains continued well into January, and some people thought, are the rains here, and can we start planting? Now it's dry again, and
People are wondering, yes.
people are wondering what is, when is it coming next? Some people even ventured and actually planted, so they may lose that crop. People are really concerned about the rains. It looks to me like people have said, we are going to feed ourselves. If we don't feed ourselves, we are in trouble. So they are watching, and what I think you're missing is advice. Agricultural extension, I think some work should be done about that, so that people are advised when to plant. And this fertilizer thing is not working out very well, long distances for people on our side. But otherwise, SEMA is relatively stable. Of course, what's happening in the
But the
bigger
good Lord
picture-
is shown us also these butterflies, the white butterflies.
The
That is a harbinger or a bellwether of drought which is looming.
Well,
So to speak,
well,
many people have varied views about it.
actually, I don't quite blame people who think it means something more than what we are seeing, because animals respond to the environment. We may not know what they are responding to, but that doesn't mean there's nothing, because they are moving, and they normally move in terms of breeding, and animals move in terms of breeding to go to places where the outcome
And insects.
they will be okay, or moving away. So they know what they are doing.
They know.
So
Maybe we should study more.
We'll study more and
to
see
what
it
message
means.
are they emitting
Yes.
or are they relaying right now? Yes.
Well, in the bigger picture, well, I think the big story now is Honorable Raila possibility of moving to AU. I think that is what is getting
And the
everybody
crumbling
talk.
of ODM, so to speak.
I don't think it is.
Because ODM is Raila and Raila is ODM.
I don't think it means the same thing.
You'll tell us more.
People think that it's crumbling of ODM, crumbling of the coalition and so on. But that would mean that those systems didn't exist. And if you build a system that cannot operate when you are not there, then it's not a good system. We know it has been a good system. I think it gives us opportunity to show that the system can exist, both the coalition and the ODM party.
So we'll know then, our institutions really predicated
Are our
personalities,
institutions able to...
the cult of personality,
Yes.
if the figure goes away,
What happened?
what happens?
But
Things
also-
will fall apart.
But also remember, Addis Ababa is only 2 hours away from Nairobi. That is also an important thing. And leadership is not always physical, that you have to be there in a person. Leadership can be spiritual, can be intellectual. So I don't think, personally, I just see that it's an opportunity to see how things move when there is such a change. In any case, he was in the position of the Commission for Infrastructure, again in Addis Ababa. But I think this position is more engaging and therefore may take more of his time. In any case, it is the intention that has actually been indicated. It hasn't happened. So we shouldn't panic. For me, I don't think it's time to panic. Words like ODM is going to crumble, Azmio is going to crumble, opposition. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, Kalonzo says it's going to be intact with or without Raila. We are moving on, we're soldiering on. Let's just hear from what he says, where we have the leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, who has continued to drum up support for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga to take up the chairmanship of the African Union Commission, saying the former Prime Minister has enough experience to lead the continent to high levels. Kalonzo, who spoke during a meet the People Tour in Nairobi, where he said he will use his network to ensure Odinga emerges as the 6th chairperson of AU. Let's see and hear from our political affairs reporter Emmanuel Tuo, who starts us off on that particular note.
The declaration by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga that he will be on the ballot in February next year for the AU chairmanship race has continued to send shockwaves across the country, with more leaders jumping in the fray to back his bid. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who is seemingly taking up the mantle from Odinga, leading the charge in the capital.
Na yeye atapata kazi ngumu na tena kazi kubwa. Tumshangilie na tumuombea apate hiyo kazi. Wangapi namuombea baba apate hiyo kazi? Na sisi kutokana na network yetu kidogo tutasaidia ilivyo. Ni maraisi hebu badala ya kuwa rais mmoja hapa, marais 50 na 4 ndio atakuwa anafanya kazi nao.
So huu mtindo tumeanza kuona ambao watu wanakuja pamoja kuweka mirengo kando because of our nation and our national interest. This is truly the Kenya that we want. Putting Kenya first. Raila akienda hataenda kama kiongozi wa Azimio, ataenda kama Mkenya mwenzetu.
Sasa kama mnaona Ruto amwambia Raila, wewe nitakupanga na amemaliza Azimio, mtashangaa zile kura Ruto atapata Central in Lowland kwa sababu ya kujipanga.
The former vice president also firing at the Kenya Kwanza administration on the affordable housing bill that comes up for second reading on Tuesday at the National Assembly.
Yani serikali mambo yake ni kuongoza, sio kufanya biashara. Kwa hivyo inajiingiza kwa biashara kwa kutoa ushuru. Mama mboga, nimeona hawa ambao wanafanya saloon watakuja hapa wanahesabu nyinyi. Nasema saloon zenu hizi unalipa 1.5% ushuru kwa kujengea nyumba.
Kalonzo's sentiments were also echoed by the Amani National Congress Party ANC, who threw their weight behind the opposition chief.
We as a party, ANC, asked the Kenyan government, the president and his team to take over the bid of Raila to become a national bid for Kenya and undertake all the diplomatic investments that's required to go into this.
He led the docket was given last time of infrastructure. We know given this opportunity, he's going to lead Africa to the next level. And as a party, we are supporting our father, as he's popularly known as Baba. On
his part, Kotu Secretary General Francis Atwoli remained confident that Odinga will clinch the seat come February 2025 elections.
I'm 100% sure he will get it. And even if he doesn't get it, he'll come back home. He has a home. But I'm sure if President Ruto is committed to it, as yesterday I listened carefully, his party ordered throwing weight behind him. So it is obvious. Why should you miss him? Why do you want to miss him? Where do you want to go?
Odinga is currently in Berlin, Germany, for the World Forum of the Future of Democracy, Tech and Humankind. Emmanuel Tuo, KT News, Nairobi.
Now, President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga's secret deal after the countrywide protest following the 2022 general election has come out in the open, with Raila now eyeing the Africa Union Commission chairperson position. The latest push by Ruto to have Raila clinch the African Union top job has brought to the fore closely guarded secrets that the two leaders had come to a ceasefire agreement in a meeting presided over by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo in Mombasa last year. Our reporter Grace Nganga has more.
In politics, they say there are no permanent enemies, just interests. A notion that perhaps best explains Raila's nomination to the AU by President William Ruto. For politicians who've had a love-hate relation, this move comes as a surprise to many, but a masterstroke in the political game of chess. For a man who has seemingly been losing touch with his support base owing to the high cost of living and unfriendly government policies, President Ruto has moved to tame his biggest critic, Raila Odinga, who has been riding on government's misdoings and galvanizing his support base.
They will exercise the sovereignty directly. Maandamano, picketing, boycott, na kadhalika.
My friends, sahau mambo ya handshake.
Nasema hapa leo sitaki mambo ya handshake.
And we must tell my good friend Raila Odinga, you cannot, enough is enough. You cannot continue to blackmail the country.
And although it came as a surprise to many for the Kenya Kwanza government, led by Ruto, to support Odinga's nomination to the AU, KTN News understands that this was a well-orchestrated plan. A source from within Kenya Kwanza who sought anonymity said there was a secret handshake deal that happened almost 4 months ago when former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo met the two in Mombasa last year. Obasanjo, during a press briefing at Raila's residence last Thursday, revealed that he played a crucial role in mediating between Ruto and Raila, which led to the ceasing of the weekly protest organized by the opposition.
Went to Mombasa, and the outcome of that exercise was 5 each from the two parties to form a committee, and I understand that committee have done impressive work. Of course, in my part of the world, we believe that when you put yam in fire, you must be able to turn it over so that it's not overburnt.
The source said prior to the formation of the National Dialogue Committee, a deal was struck that will eject Odinga from local politics and Kalonzo take over the opposition. The NADCO report recommends the establishment of the office of the leader of the official opposition. In meetings that are proof of a deal being fomented, Ruto and Raila met Delaware Senator Chris Coons, who is credited for spearheading talks between fourth President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila that culminated into the famous 2018 handshake. It said Odinga nominated Kalonzo to take over as opposition leader, who will be deputized by 2 other leaders. A move that is likely to once again emasculate the opposition and see Kenyans on their own, as it did in 2018 during the famous handshake between Odinga and Kenyatta. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi had hinted 3 weeks ago, while in Raila's Nyanza background, that Kenyans will be surprised by some pleasant news coming from the Ruto administration. He did not elaborate, leading political pundits to speculate about an impending handshake between the president and former prime minister.
Nataka muniangalie vizuri. Hivi karibuni, we shall be surprising you with some very important news and pleasant.
The president is currently engaged in a charm offensive with various African countries in efforts to see that Raila clinches their position that will elevate him from being a veteran opposition politician to a pan-Africanist with influence in the 54 countries. Kenya Kwanza Alliance politicians are excited at the prospects of Raila leaving the political scene, making it easier for Ruto to be re-elected for a second term in 2027, where the president is expected to inherit a section of Raila's political constituency with the leverage of backing him for the AU post. The National Dialogue Committee is set for debate in Parliament Tuesday. It will be interesting to watch how both the government and the opposition will handle the various issues, especially following the nomination of Raila in AU bid. Grace Ganga, KTN News, Nairobi.
And President William Ruto is pushing for the establishment of the African Economic Summit to chart the continent's development path. President Ruto, who was speaking at the 37th ordinary session of the Assembly of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where he said the summit will then invite friends, countries from other parts of the world, corporations and philanthropists to give their views.
We also undertake to fashion an African Economic Summit and invite friends, countries that want to work with us, corporations that want to work with us, philanthropies that want to work with us, yearly for a summit that is much more cost effective, and we don't have to go to all manner of capitals invited to try and discuss our development. It is fair, it is better if we can discuss it here at home fashioned in the way we think best it should be.
Right, the president there in Addis, and of course, the African Union is a big topic currently here in the country. What does it portend for this particular coalition called Azimio as it stands right now? Will it be the crumbling of Azimio, or is there any political sleight of hands that others will read from what the president and the executive, so to speak, are trying to push the envelope for Raila Odinga's bid at the AU? You've seen many people rallying support. Also, all the parties seems to be on the same umbrella trying to push for the envelope. And what does it really also portend for the political career of Kalonzo Musyoka as it stands right now? Well, we want to just see it from the side of ODM and Wiper, and just generally speaking Azimio as it stands. But the two major parties that actually within that particular party or coalition is Wiper and ODM, where James Chikala and also Dr. Makali are coming from. So let's just begin first of all with you, Dr. Makali, because it seems this was what was loading, so to speak. If you hear what the Prime Secretary Musalia Mudavadi was saying, you wait, something good is in the pipeline. We have something up our collective sleeves. Just be patient, but this is a good deal. To you, does it sound like a good deal?
It's going to be a good deal. Anyway, I think really what is happening is that, and I think Kenyans have said it out there, that Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga has what it takes to be the chair Africa Union. And when you look at his past in terms of experience, political experience, also international connections, he can easily manage that position. And what is happening is I think Kenya is putting up their a very good candidate for that position, because there's going to be competition from other regions also, and it's good always to get the best person going there. So for me, normally in politics things will just happen by chance. The people would plan and strategize on how to get things done, but from where I sit, my assessment is that the person we are pushing for this position, who is other than the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, as what it takes to go there. So as to whether it's going to be, it been planned earlier, or it's going to be a good deal, as Musalia was saying, I don't know whether this good deal meant Raila, but for me, I think really the candidate of Raila is a good candidate. But then let's look at the other way. The issue of what Kalonzo was saying. You know, anytime I've looked very briefly at the papers on what they're saying, and the idea of that Azimio is likely now to die a natural death, now that Raila is likely to leave, ODM might be calmed down, crumbling and all that. The truth of the matter is that this is a common saying, you know, when anytime we are burying people, you hear people saying, the gentleman we are burying today has left a vacuum, which nobody else might be able to fill. The truth of the matter is, leaders emerge when there's an opportunity for a leader to emerge. You know, so long as Raila was there and he's the leader of ODM, people like Nyikalia could not show any signs of ambition. They have to remain very submissive because that's their leader. The same with us. But you know, immediately the leader exits, then other leaders will come up. And I can tell you for sure, when I look at ODM as a party, it has very, very good leaders who can easily take that party and run with it and make it very stable and vibrant. So I have no fears that ODM is likely to solve any problems as a result of Raila exiting to Addis, even though, as Honorable Nyikalo said earlier, Addis is only 2 hours away from Kenya, so I'm sure even from there he could still be pulling some strings here and there. But we have very, very good leaders in ODM. And when it comes to Azimio, our party leader, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, is up to task. Right. You can see he's already saying it, that we are ready for this thing.
We are ready for this thing.
And we have been there.
With or without Raila.
We have been ready for
we
this thing.
We soldier on. In fact, the ones that we will soldier on.
And we have been ready for this thing many years.
Yeah, but we can see some fragmentation that is happening even within Azimio as it is right now. With Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka pairing up with the Junior Wamalo, it seems that, yes, they're already giving that perception that this can be another solid ticket when it comes to 2027. We've seen Joho as well. He's got also presidential ambition. So there's a lot of features that is emerging within Azimio. First of all, is it a confirmable fact that right now Kalonzo Musyoka and Eugene Wamalwa are going to pair up?
No.
That is a perception that is being given out there.
It could be the perception, but I don't think this position has been taken by anybody. You know what has happened, and we said
it cannot be the position taken by the perception. So
we said it many times. We said it many times that the affiliate parties of Azimio, that is Wiper, DAP Kenya, ODM, Jubilee, although Jubilee is now like a skeleton, and Kenya Mother Karua. We said anytime any of those parties gains strength, becomes stronger, then at the end of the day, Azimio will be strong. And I think what is happening, because we are in the same house, it's a matter of like, I'm going out there and you decide to call a friend and you go together. Another day you are calling a different friend. It only happens that for the last two outings, I think the one in Kajiado and the one in Ukambani, the DAP leader, who is Honorable Wamalwa, accompanied Kalonzo Musyoka. Don't be surprised in the next 2 weeks to see somebody else accompanying Kalonzo or accompanying Honorable Wamalwa. What we are doing is we are trying to strengthen their coalition so that we have a solid coalition which can actually face Kenya Kwanza come 2027. I've also seen that people are claiming now that Raila is also now going. That might weaken the coalition, and some strongholds of the coalition could be taken up by Kenya Kwanza. I'm telling you, it might be far from the truth. Because, you know, Kenyans, where they're sitting now, they have already made up their mind that this government is not meeting their expectations, and unless things change, the next election is likely to be won on the basis of, have you delivered on your promises? Not on the basis of who is the leader, but have you delivered on your promises? And if that will be the case, then I can tell you for sure, Kenya Kwanza will be in problems. Because I would want to see what they will come up with. Now they're in a fascia. You know, normally, before I became a politician, I used to be a monitoring and evaluation specialist. And one of the things we do when we are evaluating projects is we normally have what we call annual reviews, where you look at what are you targeted to do in 1 year, what have you achieved, what lessons have you learned, and then based on those lessons, then it informs your future planning. I hope that's what they are doing, because if they don't do that, then there are very high chances that at the end of the day, they will not be able to come up with lessons learned which can help them improve. And if that is the case, then I can tell you for sure, for me, this year, 2024, and part of 2025, is the make or break year for Kenya Kwanza. If they don't get it right, they are done. And we have said many times, where you have policies which are not being, like you see now the kind of resistance they're getting.
Hold on. Let's not go to Kenya Kwanza. Let's just focus first on Azimio. Yeah. We'll come to Kenya Kwanza, as a standalone topic.
Then Azimio, as we said, Azimio, we are set. We are set for this thing in Bao.
Yeah, we are set. You guys are set. All right, let's say from Horrible Islam, because it sounds to me, and of course for many politicians that we've sat with and talked, that Raila is not really interested in any, presidential ambitions, even from before. Him, it's been business. The issue of running ODM is business as it stands. It's just actually a money-making machine. So does this also posture that we're getting that for this AU presidential or AU bid that is being rallied around fosters that particular notion that he's never been interested in being a president of this country? All that we can just see is political machination for him to, make a good back from all that. When you go into elections, you posture yourself as a presidential candidate. But from the inner, deeper recesses of your heart, you don't have that particular ambition to be the president.
Well, I don't know who has got into that inner recess and so of the heart, and so that he actually doesn't want to be a president. But if you look at what Raila has gone through all his life, from his youth up to now, the fight has been for the betterment of the Kenyan people all through. He spent 9 years in detention. Was this also a business venture? It can't be. When he went into Kanu, basically that was to see how he could change things from within. even remember when NDP was formed, when LDP was formed. All this actually have been, and the message has been very clear, the betterment of the people of Kenya, and which can be a better position to improve the lives of Kenyans other than the presidential seat.
Hang on,
therefore,
we began even, let's just begin from the KANU and the NDP there, all right? Because it sounds, even for that was just a political deal, that it was good for Raila by then. And if he really wanted to, he would have gone and soldiered on.
But you look
he
at
had all the clout.
But you look at,
but because their vested interest, even around from KANU and President Moi, is swallowed up by the Jogo.
What is this business benefit that he gets that we don't see? Me, I mean, ODM, I don't see it. But what I see is normally when he makes these changes, there are very major changes. Look at the change of the constitution when Section 2A was actually abolished. So we then got into a multi-party thing. Then when they changed to get the constitution, the 2010 constitution, that was a very major thing for this country. Look at the issue of devolution. All these things, how come people do not see the benefits that come from his struggles, and people just choose to see that he must just be doing it for himself? But the changes that people see in the country, multipartyism, devolution, the new constitution, all these governance structures that he brings into place, we don't see them.
Well,
he struggled even before that.
People will say that is the attendant benefit that comes with your own,
this is something that
and then people will perceive it as you're trying actually to do it for the benefit of the country.
What you're actually saying is actually the common failing of the Kenyan population. That you see it for many leaders, that actually when a leader is trying to make a change, even at constituency level, then people don't see the changes that the leaders make. They see the benefit, what they think is the benefit. And in reality, when you look at leaders to a large extent, there are people who, if they wanted to concentrate and make money, Honorable Raila, if he really wanted to be a business person, I think he would have made much bigger money than people think he's making. So leave that alone. I don't ascribe to that. I don't think that he intends just to make a posture as a business negotiation. I think that's actually a very bad way to look at it. I don't think many people in Kenya will accept that that is what Raila is about. Raila has been about changes, and therefore the search for the presidency has been the search to get these changes. And even though the presidency has eluded him, at every point there have been very major changes that has come about from his struggles.
Okay,
so I think that is where I was at. But now let's come to the what is now.
All right, I can see my time is taking up to 7 o'clock. Can I just take a short break, then you can actually latch on that particular notion.
Yes.
But we want to know, because this has been also in the public domain, that there was a big meeting in Dubai where the former, of course, Prime Minister was there. We had also one of the upper reaches of government from the executive. Also, we had the former president of the Republic in Dubai. People were talking. Innuendos were there. Right? I see people now saying, oh, this has come home to roost. We can see this is something that was in the offing, it was in the pipeline. So we don't know what is happening in the back.
What I've realized in politics and in life, that in the end, people who read the lines get it right more than people who read in between the lines. That's what I've seen in life. So people will read a lot of things in between the lines.
But perception has been there. And it's always come to be sort of really validated by the action that is taken finally, because like what we're talking about, Eugene and Kalonzo, is a perception, which we have also Honorable Makali certainly denying that there's something in the offing like that, but they are pairing up. This is what we're seeing as a public.
And this perception, I want to also come on the issue of the perception. That is why the problem we have had in this country, and I'll say you don't want to talk about Kenya Kwanza, but I'll give you an example. I want to give it an example. If you perception is important.
I was taking a short break.
Perception.
Hang on.
Perception is important in politics. But once you get to where you want to get into politics with perception, if you do not manage that perception, you will not deliver in services. Because perception can never deliver services. you have to go back to reality. So if you make decisions on perception,
thank you.
In the end, you don't deliver.
All right, you need to grab a copy of Standard this morning, because when it talks about perception, this was a perception, and right now we have the reality on the ground. These cheers coming to cheers, all the cheers coming to cheers right now, where we have Ruto no longer being the darling of many. Increasingly, the president is facing hostile crowds from his support base. We can see they're trying to actually manage all this right now. There was perception that was sold out, but now when it comes to the reality on the ground, there is such a dissonance, and where they always say hope, all right, that is not met makes the heart sick. Yes, right, that hope that is cut out makes the heart sick, as the good Bible says. We take a short break. When we circle back, of course, we shall be looking at that and a raft of other issues here on the Morning Prime Standpoint. We get the standpoint from Akali Mulu and also from Dr. Nyikal. By the way, just to prime you that we have a Jubilee parliamentary grouping in Naivasha. That's why you can see we don't have, the other side of the panel, Danson Mungatana, Hilary Sigay, amongst others, who are in Naivasha. We take a short break, don't worry.